What happens when the world's most controversial rapper decides to kill his own alter ego? Why would Eminem, after decades of success, suddenly bury the very persona that made him a legend? Tonight, we dive into the death of Slim Shady and uncover the real reason Marshall Mathers is saying goodbye to the monster he created. It's been over 20 years since Slim Shady first exploded onto the scene. He was violent, he was unfiltered, and he was everything the world wasn't ready for. But in 2024, Eminem dropped an announcement that made every fan stop scrolling. The death of Slim Shady Coup De Grace, the title alone sounded like a eulogy. For months, he teased the concept like a funeral invitation. Dark imagery, a mock obituary, even the marketing felt like a warning. Slim's time was up. And on July 12, 2024, the album finally arrived. But what fans didn't expect was how emotional it would feel. Because this wasn't just another project, it was closure. After years of rage, controversy, and reinvention, Eminem was ready to face the shadow that haunted him, Slim Shady. From the very first track, you can feel it. The tone is darker, slower, more deliberate. Gone are the chaotic punchlines and cartoonish violence. Instead, you hear reflection. You hear a man looking back at everything he built and everything it cost him. Then comes Toby featuring Big Sean and Babytron. A Detroit moment, 3 generations of rappers in one track. It's not just a collaboration, it's a torch being passed. Eminem's bars are sharp, precise, and cold. Like he's proving that even in his 50s, he can still out-rap anyone who steps up. But then temporary changes the mood, it's personal, it's vulnerable. He talks about legacy, mortality, and even becoming a grandfather. For someone who's always been known for chaos, it's almost surreal to hear him sound at peace. The more you listen, the more it feels like Eminem isn't just killing Slim Shady. He's killing the part of himself that needed pain to survive. For years, Slim was his weapon. But now, that weapon is turning back on him. Even the album title, Coup De Grace, means the final blow. It's poetic, it's symbolic, and it's brutally honest. Because, think about it. For decades, Slim Shady was everything Marshall wasn't allowed to be. Angry, funny, cruel, but he was also his escape. Every insult, every fight, every childhood scar, Slim said what Marshall couldn't. And now, after all this time, Marshall is finally brave enough to exist without him. Critics called it a farewell letter. Fans called it the end of an era. But for Eminem, it feels more like a rebirth. Like he's finally putting his demons to rest. There's even a deeper layer, the funeral of identity. The idea that Slim Shady died so that Marshall Mathers could live. It's rare to see an artist dissect his own myth in real time. But that's what this album does. It's self-awareness turned into art. And you can hear the evolution. Technically, his rhyme patterns are still flawless, but the message is different. It's not about proving he's the best anymore, it's about finding peace in what's left. He's closing a 25-year loop, from the anger of the Slim Shady LP to the pain of recovery, to the reflection of music to be murdered by. Now, the death of Slim Shady completes the circle. He's no longer the outcast screaming at the world, he's the survivor talking to it. And maybe that's the scariest part, because when Slim Shady dies, what happens next? Can Eminem exist without the chaos? Or will something new rise from the ashes? But something else is happening too. Behind the calmness, behind the acceptance, there's a quiet intensity building again. It's like Marshall's rediscovering what it means to create, not for fame, not for headlines, but for himself. Marshall Mathers isn't done. He's just turning the page. Because when you strip everything away, the awards, the records, the rivalries, that's what he's always been. A writer, a poet, a man who turned his pain into paragraphs that millions memorize. And in this new chapter, that rawness feels sharper. He doesn't need Slim Shady to say what he feels anymore. He's saying it as Marshall, and that's even more powerful. You can sense that he's studying the world again, quietly. Observing, picking up every little piece of madness and beauty that people miss. It's the same energy that built the Marshall Mathers LP, but this time, it's matured, refined, controlled. That's the part fans rarely see, the silence before the storm. Every era of Eminem started that way. When the noise fades, the work begins. And maybe, just maybe, that's where he's at right now. Because Eminem never really stops creating. Even when the world thinks he's quiet, he's building something, sketching out ideas, recording pieces that may never see daylight. But that's the thing about artists like him, their silence is never empty. You can imagine him in that studio in Detroit, the lights dim, a notepad half filled with lines that twist and loop like mazes. He's pacing, mumbling bars under his breath. There's no audience there, just the beat, his thoughts, and the ghost of Slim Shady somewhere in the corner, listening. And when that beat hits, something clicks. He's not the legend, not the icon, not even the survivor. He's just Marshall, a kid who still feels like he has something to prove, and maybe that's what's keeping him relevant. He's still evolving. He's not trying to fit into the sound of today. He's forcing today to bend toward him. And every new generation that hears him for the first time, they don't just hear rap, they hear legacy. Because underneath every rhyme, there's a heartbeat, a story. And that story is still being written. There's a strange beauty in watching an artist age with his art. When you look at Eminem now, you're not just seeing who he is, you're seeing everything he's survived. The fame, the scandals, the loss, the recovery, the reinvention. Every wrinkle, every scar, every lyric, it's all evidence. And maybe that's why the death of Slim Shady felt so heavy. Because it wasn't just about ending a character. It was about letting go of the version of himself that couldn't grow. The part that burned so bright, it almost consumed him. But the thing about letting go is that it makes space. And you can feel that space opening in his recent words. He's not shouting anymore. He's speaking. Calm, clear, deliberate. Like a man who's finally comfortable inside his own skin. There's a subtle power in that. For someone who once used rage as fuel, peace can feel like rebellion. But that's exactly what Marshall's doing. Rebelling against the chaos that built him. He's finding rhythm in restraint, meaning in stillness, and strength in vulnerability. Some fans miss the wildness, the cartoon violence, the shock lines, the venom, but that era served its purpose. It protected a young artist who didn't yet know how to protect himself. Now he does, and that changes everything. When you listen to his newer verses, it's like hearing a man walk through the ruins of his own past, but instead of anger, there's gratitude. Gratitude for the pain that taught him, for the mistakes that shaped him, for the silence that saved him, and maybe that's what this whole journey was about. Not killing Slim Shady out of hate, but out of love. Because love, in its purest form, means knowing when to let go. He's not chasing charts anymore, he's chasing peace. Every verse now sounds like closure disguised as poetry. And when the beat finally fades, it feels less like an ending, and more like a man finally exhaling after 20 years of noise. So, what do you think? Is this really the end of Slim Shady? Or just another twist in Eminem's story? Drop your thoughts below. And if you want more deep dives like this, you know what to do.